coming up on Sports Night.
We recap all you missed in Northwestern football.
A special guest joins the show to talk all things soccer.
And finally, we look into how the Northwestern volleyball team has stacked up. Welcome back to Sports Night. We have missed you, and we have missed Northwestern sports. Andrew, please, if you would do the honors.
It would be my pleasure. It's Sports Night right now.
What did you say?
Welcome to Sports Night. I'm Andrew Fenichel, you're Abriel Siregar, and we have a packed show coming up for you tonight.
Andrew, I'm so happy to be on desk. Always grateful to be here with you. But
I appreciate it.
Yeah, but I feel like we're already behind. The Northwestern football season's already in full swing.
And they've had 5 games. We haven't even had a show yet. I mean, we have to inform the people of what's going on with this team, right?
I think we create a segment.
I agree. Let's call it 5 for 5. Let's go top 5 plays from the first 5 weeks for the Northwestern football team. What do you say?
Roll the tape. At number 5, Drake Anderson does his best Justin Jackson impersonation. That's a double-digit yard carry against the Michigan State team.
And at play number 4, we're throwing it back. UNLV, Hunter Johnson scrambles into the end zone for his first career touchdown as a Wildcat.
At number 3, they didn't get the memo. It's a no-fly zone against this Northwestern secondary. J.R. Pace with the interception against Wisconsin.
And at play number 2, fourth quarter, UNLV driving. Quarterback Armani Rogers rolls out and boom, he gets hit, coughs up the ball. Travis Willock recovers and the Wildcats secure their first win.
And at number 1, 5-star recruit Hunter Johnson. Is that a bird? Is that a plane? Nope, that's a touchdown, a 55-yard bomb for Hunter Johnson and his first touchdown of his collegiate career.
So there you have it, 5 plays, 5 weeks for the Wildcats. But Abriel, we just watched a bunch of highlights. Clearly, this team's 1-4. Something is not adding up. If I'm a fan watching back home, what is the bigger story here? What am I missing? What do I need to know to get caught up on this team?
Well, what's been hard to miss, though, as a Northwestern fan, you may wish you did, is that Northwestern offense.
Yeah.
They are ranked 125th out of the 130 college football Division I teams, according to an indicator, a composite indicator called the SP Plus ranking.
Can you repeat that one more time?
125th out of the 130 college football teams. That's not good. And I know what you're thinking. You might be thinking, what do these indicators mean? I don't believe in analytics. Let me give you a stat even a football novice can understand. Yards per game, Northwestern are 126th out of 130. That's inexcusable.
It really is, and I think it comes down to the quarterback play, okay? I mean, you mentioned it in the highlights. Quarterback Hunter Johnson came into this season as hyped as any player, I would go as far to say, is in Northwestern history, and yet he really hasn't lived up to the billing. I mean, the quarterbacks as a whole are 125th in the country in completion percentage. I mean, it's been Hunter Johnson, it's been TJ Green. They've both gotten injured this year. The team is now down to third-string quarterback Aiden Smith.
I mean, Andrew, you're 100% right, and I'm not trying to shift the blame away from the passing game, but the rush just hasn't been there either.
That's a great point.
They are 99th in yards per carry, and this is a team that 2 years ago, the Northwestern fan base were chanting, Justin Jackson, the ball carrier, almost every possession. I mean, that's the identity of this team, and it just hasn't been there this season.
It really hasn't been. I mean, you mentioned the 99th in yards per carry. They're a little bit higher than that in total yardage on the ground, but that's just a volume stat.
Right.
It's way better to be efficient on offense, and that is a thing that Northwestern's offense hasn't been this season. And the worst part about it, the defense has been spectacular.
Yeah, the defense has shown up. We talk about those indicators, the SP Plus indicators. 125th in offense, 8th in defense.
That's crazy.
We are a top 10, Northwestern, is a top 10 defensive team, and there's a lot of bright lights there.
Oh, totally. I mean, Travis Willock leads the team in tackles at 44, and he's a safety.
Right. You
got Patty Fisher, the middle linebackers, forced 3 turnovers, and I know you like that defensive line.
I mean, Joe Gaziano, Alex Miller, and Ernest Brown have combined for 8 sacks. There's a lot of good in this defense, and you know the discrepancy between the two teams are just kind of remarkable, and that's just been the Northwestern football experience so far. I'm sure the Northwestern fans will be anxious to see if this team can bounce back from this 3-game losing streak. And speaking of fandom, our very own Ryan Coleman went up to Wisconsin to find out how the fans of the 5-0 Wisconsin Badgers football team stack up to those of the Northwestern Wildcats.
Zach Lutz is a junior at Wisconsin, and not only does he feel passionate about the fan base, he became a big Badger fan shortly after acceptance into the school.
I think there's a pretty distinct culture here, and people are very proud to wear the red and white. Wisconsin. It took me no time at all to really become a big Badger fan. 3 football games into my first year here last year, there's just a crazy vibe here, and it's just it's infectious, and you want to root for the team as soon as you're around the campus.
While he is proud of the Wisconsin fan base, how does he feel about Northwestern's?
Do you have a better fan base than Northwestern?
Of course, yeah.
Well, it's hard to blame him, as Camp Randall is energetic indeed.
Now we're minutes before kickoff here, and already the atmosphere is electric. I'm sure you can hear all the noises of the stadium behind me, which is why it's not surprising that the jump around actually registers as an earthquake here at Wisconsin's Richter scale.
Of course, everyone wanted to experience the Camp Randall hype, but did it live up to the expectations? You can decide. Alright, I admit, it's pretty cool.
The Wildcats weren't able to secure the victory, and the Wisconsin fan base stayed enthusiastic throughout the entire game, making it the most difficult atmosphere the Cats have experienced thus far in the year. While it's difficult to say if it'll be the most difficult for the rest of the season, right now, Wisconsin is winning that category. For NNN Sports, this is Ryan Coleman, signing out of Camp Randall Stadium.
Huge shout out from our sports director, Ryan Coleman, with the awesome work on that story up from Wisconsin from a few weeks ago. But now me and Abriel are going to look ahead, and we're now standing in front of the remaining 2019 season schedule for the Northwestern Wildcats football team. We're going to go week by week. We're going to break it down and give our predictions for the rest of the Wildcats season. So, Abriel, I'm going to start with you.
Yep.
What's going to happen next Friday night against Ohio State?
Well, it's worth pointing out that the Cats are on a 3-game losing streak. Their record, again, is 1-4. And for Northwestern fans hoping that at the end of the tunnel that there is light against a number 3 ranked Ohio State team, at the end of the tunnel is just more tunnel. I mean, our Coach Fitz has not beaten Ohio State. People who went to the Big Ten championship game last year will know that they have a very tough time against Ohio State. This is a 6-0 team and a claimant for maybe the best team in the nation. That's going to be a very hard game.
It totally is. I mean, Justin Fields has been so good. And now, moving on with that tunnel analogy, after that Ohio State loss, we got the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Right.
As you keep going through this tunnel, that's not a too shabby of a team on its own. I mean, Iowa, led by quarterback Nate Stanley, has an incredible offense, and their defense, according to those same SB Plus rankings that has Northwestern's defense ranked 8th, has Iowa's ranked 9th. So when you think about it, the two defenses are comparable, but with Iowa's offense so much superior compared to Northwestern, that is going to be another loss.
And in a 1-6 record, I want to point to that. Andrew, what's the significance of that record?
It is very significant because clearly Northwestern would need to win out to guarantee a bowl game appearance this season.
Yeah, and their next game is against another team with a winning record, the 3-2 Indiana Hoosiers, but I think that record's actually pretty deceiving. They're 0-2 in conference, and their games that they have won are against lesser teams. I think Northwestern can get on the board and break that losing streak and win this game against Indiana.
And hey, I hope that happens because I'll be at that game on the road covering it right here for NNN Sports. So now we keep going, and we go on to the Purdue Boilermakers. And I mean, you mentioned how Indiana might be fooling some people with their record. Purdue's not fooling anybody. They're 1-4. This team is not very good. Of course, the name to watch is wide receiver Rondale Moore for the Purdue Boilermakers. But I think Northwestern has the strong middle linebacker play across the middle of the field and the safety play to lock down a guy like Rondale Moore who plays out of the slot. This will be a win for Northwestern, and that's back-to-back wins now.
Well, yeah, let's not look now, but that's a winning streak that we're projecting. Against the UMass Minutemen, this is a team that's 1-4 and has gone against lesser competition. We like to talk about those SB rankings and those yards per game stat. Northwestern obviously 126th in yards per game. UMass Minutemen 125th. Only one step above Northwestern, and like I said, they've gone against lesser competition. I think that's a surefire win for Northwestern.
And hey, look at that. We got 3 wins in a row now. All of a sudden, this Wildcats game, they're on a streak.
Right.
And with that Illinois game looming, I mean, that's almost going to be a guaranteed win. I don't want to put words in your mouth,
Sure.
Gabriel, but all of a sudden it comes down to this Minnesota game
Right.
the week after UMass. I hate to be the one. I really do. but Tyler Johnson is too good of a wide receiver. I don't know if the Northwestern cornerbacks can stop him. And this 14th ranked Minnesota offensive attack, according to those Connolly SB Plus rankings, this is going to be a loss for the Wildcats, effectively ending their bowl chances.
Yeah, and obviously they might be still bowl eligible if they make it up in the power ranking somehow. But
they're on the fence.
They're on the fence, and
sure.
I really don't think that they'll be able to make it. This game against Indiana they're a 2-3 team right now. In conference, they're 0-2. I think Northwestern will win this game, but as Andrew Fenichel said, it might just be consolation at this point for the Northwestern Wildcats.
So there you go. You heard it here first. 5-7 will be Northwestern football's final record here in 2019. And if they do miss a bowl game, it would be the first time since 2014 that Northwestern did not play in the postseason. So the Wildcats football season might be over, but SportsNight's just getting started. We have soccer and field hockey coverage coming right up. Don't go anywhere.
At Northwestern, we're Wildcats in every way.
Northwestern break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all to go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
At Northwestern University, we are pioneering innovation and achieving excellence across every imaginable discipline. At Northwestern University, the possibilities are endless.
Welcome back to Sports Night. I know I miss Andrew Fenichel too, but don't worry, he's coming right up. In fact, he's brought on a very special guest. Andrew, kick it off.
Hey, I appreciate it, Abriel. Keep holding down the fort on desk. I have brought a special guest. I know I promised it. I have Charlie Goldsmith of the Daily Northwestern. We're going to start talking some soccer, but first of all, Charlie, how are you doing?
I'm okay. You know, usually there's a game on a Thursday night, but I'm making it through.
Okay, well, hey, we now have the opportunity to talk some soccer.
Night, too.
We do have sports
That's why
night.
I didn't take it into
that's better than a
consideration.
game if you ask me, but let's just jump right into it. My first question for you. Last year, the women's soccer team had an amazing season. I mean, double-digit wins. They reached the NCAA tournament. But this year, they find themselves under 500 at just 4-6-2. What has led to this sort of disappointing start?
Can I tell a story?
Go for it.
So let's go back to Northwestern Football Pro Day, the day Clayton Thorson threw for about 100 NFL personnel, scouts,
We're talking
GMs, etc.
soccer here.
Yes, we're talking
Oh, okay.
soccer because Michael Moynihan walks in.
Okay.
I go up at women's soccer coach. I say, Coach, what are you doing here? And he says, I'm practicing about 30 minutes. These guys better get out of here. I say, Coach Clayton's going to throw one way or another. He says, more than usual, he had a lot of work to do with this team. And that more than most off seasons, he can't have the football team on his field. He's got to practice. You mentioned the disappointing record compared to last season. It's because he lost about a third of his team, lost the majority of his starters, including 3 players who are playing in the NWSL now. You know, when you lose that kind of talent, you need practice. That's all you have when you're a coach. I'd say that after a very slow start to the season, Northwestern's 2-2-1 in conference play and has come up with clutch goals late to contend in the Big Ten. Last season's team barely went 500 in Big Ten play. This season's team is on pace for that right now. It's a very surprising, plucky, young group that has kept Northwestern in the picture probably more than Michael Moynihan even expected.
Well, hey, I think you mentioned it. They're losing that talent to the pro leagues. I mean, that's got to be a massive loss. And I'm going to ask you about where you think this women's team is going to finish in the Big Ten in just a second. But first, I want to talk the men's soccer team, all right? Because on the other hand, the men's team was a little bit of a disappointment last season, but this year, they're 5-5, and they've had some big-time, big-profile, impressive wins. So what has stood out to you from this team?
So Michael Moynihan had a lot to work on over the season. He's no Tim Lenahan. Tim Lenahan had 0 regular season conference wins last year. So after a season like that, you got to have a busy offseason. What he's done is he's weaponized two underclassmen attackers, Bardia Kavita and Ugo Achara Jr., one a sophomore, one a freshman. You'll see 2 different forms of Northwestern's offense. One, it's kind of a pitch and catch game with Kavia. They'll chip it up, he'll run, he'll chase it, he'll get there, he'll bring it in, he'll rein it in, and he'll make a move. It's really worked for the team to get into the attacking third more often. And then Ugo, man, that guy's got a foot like we haven't seen around here in a while. He can have a leaping header, or he'll try a bicycle kick. He'll try, a turnaround 360, strike it into the upper 90 like he did the other week.
How's the highlights? Like, where are you at? You know what I mean?
Where have his highlights been on SportsNight? The show's been going on for 10 minutes now, and I haven't seen Ugo Achara Jr.'s goal against Indiana.
Blame the editing team, man. It's not like I edited this video. Don't worry about it. But hey.
No, seriously, their offense is really, unlike football, has been a very quality Big Ten offense. And when you have that, you can have a different kind of season than you're used to.
Hey, that makes a ton of sense. But how good is this offense for the men's team? And, of course, going back to the women's team as well, where do you see both of these teams finishing in the Big Ten?
So both teams have a goal of advancing in the Big Ten tournament. Obviously, last year's goal is to win the Big Ten tournament on the women's side. On the men's side, not every team makes the Big Ten tournament. Northwestern actually advanced past the playing game, if you want to count that. But, playing.
You can get technical here on the show.
No, it would be a very impressive season if both offenses can continue to produce around par with what you see in the rest of Big Ten men's and women's soccer. It would really mean a lot, particularly to the men's soccer program, if they could come up with a couple upsets over the next week and get in the NCAA tournament picture, because that would be the first time in a while that we would see that happen.
That'd be awesome. I mean, just as a soccer fan myself, that'd be amazing to see. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have here on SportsNight with Charlie Goldsmith. Real quick, I'm renaming this segment Story Time with Charlie Goldsmith. Charlie, thanks so much for stopping by.
That's all I got, but thanks, man.
All right, and if you want to check out more of Charlie's work, you can visit dailynorthwestern.com and follow Charlie on Twitter at 2021_Charlie.
Just remarkable stuff from Charlie Goldsmith. Now, the Northwestern men's soccer team are definitely one to watch out for, and even had a 5-game winning streak earlier this season. But once upon a time, there was a Northwestern team on an 8-game winning streak. The question is, if a team wins and no one is there to see it, does it make a sound? Let's find out. The early struggles of the Northwestern football team are well documented. Their 1-3 start is a point of discussion amongst Northwestern students. But behind the overcast of the football season is a surging 10-2 field hockey team. Ranked 5th in the nation, the Northwestern field hockey team are riding an 8-game winning streak, and they certainly have caught the attention of the NCAA. What is in question is whether they've caught the attention of the Northwestern students. Can you tell me what Northwestern team is on a 2-game losing streak right now?
Football.
The football team?
Football.
Football team.
Football?
Football.
Our football team.
I assume the football team.
It is the football team. Now, do you know of a Northwestern team that's on an 8-game winning streak right now?
I don't know.
Tennis?
The women's soccer team?
Women's lacrosse.
Lacrosse? I have no idea.
You have no idea. So why do you think you know about a team that is on a 2-game losing streak, like the football team, but not a team on an 8-game winning streak?
Well, I assume that the football team just gets a lot more advertisement than the other sports do. I mean, I'm a huge swimming fan. I don't hear that much about swimming.
We pour so much money into it.
And everyone goes to the football games, It's a whole big thing.
Yeah, the field hockey, I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of stuff about it on campus.
Men's sports tend to get a lot more attention due to the media, and they also bring in more money. So I think that's a marketing thing from the Northwestern Athletics Department where you will put forward more entertainment and resources towards football than you would to a women's sport.
Also, I feel like none of our other sports really get any attention except for our men's sports, well, especially men's football, men's basketball. So for instance, we're on a 2-game losing streak, but nobody knew. I think that's also because there's just the support and also marketing here, and I guess location too. Football is kind of far, our games are kind of far, so that's why people don't come to ours. So I think it's just the advertisement of it too.
So there you have it for the latest installment of the Rock Talk. For NNN Sports, I'm Abriel Siregar. Now go watch some field hockey. Now, it is worth pointing that the field hockey team suffered a defeat this past Thursday, but that's exactly why it's a shame that their 8-game winning streak wasn't the talk on campus. Here's my one big thing. Northwestern has 20 varsity sports and a lot of talent to spread around. Of course, the Northwestern football team went to the Big Ten championship last year, and that would likely not come as news to you. But did you know that Northwestern also had the #1 ranked 125-pound wrestler in Sebastian Rivera? He compiled a 30-2 record last year and was the Big Ten champion. Okay, maybe you did know that. But did you know that Northwestern's fencing team were the #2 ranked team in the nation and had a record of 39-5 last year? Or that Aubrey Roberts was the first cross-country All-American in Northwestern history, also done last year? My point is this: Wildcats are constantly making history. And yes, for sure go to Ryan Field to watch the football. But when David Niffield picks up his club, or when Danielle Williams is on the mound, you just might want to be there too.
Incredible stuff, Abriel. You're like a young SVP up there, my man. For you watching back home, we still have a ton more coverage of Northwestern athletics coming up. We got volleyball, golf, and tennis all after the break. Don't go anywhere.
At Northwestern, we're Wildcats in every way.
Northwestern break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all the go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
At Northwestern University, we are pioneering innovation and achieving excellence across every imaginable discipline. At Northwestern University, the possibilities are endless.
Welcome back to Sports Night. The volleyball team always faces tough competition in a loaded Big Ten, and this year is no exception. So, Abriel, you're a big volleyball fan. Do you got some highlights for us?
I sure do, Andrew Fenichel. Let's roll the tape. The Northwestern volleyball team is already in full swing. They have won 9 games this season, but in the Shark Tank, that is the Big Ten Conference, they have not won a game. They certainly have struggled, going 0-5 against these opponents. Notable losses have come against the #5 ranked Nebraska, #7 ranked Wisconsin, and #20 ranked Purdue. The volleyball team will look to get back on track when they get their rematch against the Purdue Boilermakers this coming Saturday.
The Northwestern's men's golf team set a new school record on Tuesday, posting a 13 under 275 score and placing second at the Marquette Intercollegiate at Erin Hills. The Cats entered the final round in 4th before a huge day pulled them within 2 strokes of the leader. 3 Wildcats finished in the top 20 among individuals, including sophomore David Niffield, junior Eric McIntosh, and first-year John Driscoll III, who finished in the top 20 for the first time in his collegiate career. The Cats will travel to Carmel, Indiana for the Crook Stick Collegiate on Monday.
Well, from the club to the racket, the Northwestern men's tennis team is also swinging. The Cats off the 2019 season at the ITA All-American Championships in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Qualifying rounds began this week as the Cats will send 8 athletes, including Dominic Starry, Nick Brooks, and Simon Bratham. The #10 ranked doubles team of Bratham and Brooks will also compete in the main draw doubles. Main draws are scheduled to begin on October 9th through the 13th.
Now moving on to women's tennis, where the Wildcats competed with 13 other teams at home in the Wildcat Invite last weekend right here in Evanston. Every Northwestern competitor won their first match, as the Cats were led by freshman Christina Hand and sophomore Ingie Ogut. Then on the second day of the tournament, it was a whole nother story. I mean, it consisted of strictly doubles matches. While the Caroline Pozo and Vanessa Strang partnership lost in the first round, Hand and Ogut rattled off 4 straight wins to take the doubles bracket championship. And then, on the final day of competition, Hand matched up against Colombia's Melissa Sakar, but lost the final round in 3 sets. However, Ogut came out with a win, as she won the E-Bracket Championship match in 3 sets. The Cats had no downtime after the tournament, heading to the ITA All-American Championships in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the very next day, where senior Julie Byrne opened the championships with a 7-5, 6-2 win over Air Force's Tamijan Fumagalli. Her and sophomore Hannah McLaughlin picked up an 8-2 win over the Huskies duo in the opening round of doubles, but then fell to Washington in the next round. Byrne is set to take on Wake Forest's Caroline Campana in singles.
Well, the first show of the quarter is almost over, but stick around. We have everyone's favorite segment coming up.
At Northwestern, we're Wildcats in every way.
Northwestern break right through that with our colors flying. We will cheer you all the go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
At Northwestern University, we are pioneering innovation and achieving excellence across every imaginable discipline. At Northwestern University, the possibilities are endless.
All right, we're back. The show is coming to a close. I mean, in my opinion, it's been a great one. We made a lot of fun new changes,
Right.
but Abriel, what have you thought of the new format of the show?
Yeah, well, obviously we're moving away from just recaps and highlights, and we're trying a lot of new things, more opinionated segments that we can kind of inject our own voice into. I think they went well. What do you think, Andrew?
I agree, and I think it's important that we're adding some new elements to our show. I mean, in today's digital era of journalism, you have to be so well-rounded as a journalist. You have to be able to give your opinion, be a reporter, recap the facts, present information in so many different ways. That's why we did the Predictor segment. That's why we've been here. That's why I brought on Charlie Goldsmith in a new setting. So,
yeah, I mean, just a lot of things that we've tried out, but some things will always stay the same. We have Plays of the Week coming right up.
Cue the highlight.
At number 3, Teamwork Makes the Dream Work. Assisted by Kirsten Manfield and Ana Medina Garcia, Bente Backer scores for the Northwestern Wildcats.
And at number 2, You Bring the Music, I'll Bring the Fun. It's a block party in Evanston featuring Danielle Williams and Desiree Becker. The Cats get the point on the volleyball court.
And at number 1, we showed it to you already, but we can watch it all the time. It's a no-fly zone when you're going up against the Northwestern secondary. J.R. Pace gets the interception against Wisconsin.
It's been a great week for Northwestern sports, but that is all the time we have here on Sports Night. We're ramping up our social media presence this year, so make sure to follow us on Twitter at NNN Sports and on Instagram too at NNN_sports. Also, be sure to check out our new and improved website at www.nnnTV.org. For Abriel Siregar, I've been Andrew Fenichel. We will see you next Thursday right back here on Sports Night.